Hi.
Hi, guys. This
How are
is
you?
Michelle.
And this is Mark.
This is Mark and Michelle.
Yes, we had a request from a friend of ours here in town, and she had asked if we'd ever done a live on ADD or ADHD. Now, we had to say no.
I think we haven't.
No, huh? We may not. I don't even know if we've
We might
talked
have
about it
mentioned
much.
it.
Yeah, but you know, it's interesting. ADHD and ADD. Well, maybe ADD doesn't. You've taught all kinds of brains. But
Well, I just want to remind us that we were both diagnosed with that.
Well, why do we need to remind it? I know that. What I'm saying, we were, and we were both hyperactive. Well, I was
We
more
both took
hyperactive
Adderall.
than you. Yeah, we both took Adderall, but there doesn't seem to be much difference between a mildly autistic brain and an ADHD brain, according
I
to Michelle.
see a lot of difference.
Okay. We just talked about this, so you go ahead.
Well, we didn't actually talk about me teaching the brains. The brains are very different to teach.
Okay, all right, whatever. Go ahead.
Well, okay, so basically medical medium says they are the same thing, the same problem. It's heavy metals, toxic heavy metals in the midline of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on where those metals are deposited, will either give you ADD, ADHD, or autism.
Mm-hmm. Although he doesn't seem to say where those particular areas are.
No,
Other
he
than
doesn't.
in the
But you can tell by the symptoms that you're seeing
right.
what you have.
Except that I had autism and nobody could tell the difference between that and ADHD.
I'm saying what we can tell.
Okay.
Maybe that I should say that. Maybe it's me who can tell.
Maybe parents.
Or maybe it's me who can tell. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've taught a lot of ADHD, ADD, and autism brains.
All three of them are that different.
ADHD, the H part, the hyperactivity, that's really tough.
Okay. Well, you have said in the past that ADHD brains are tougher to teach than autistic ones.
That is correct.
Okay, why?
Because they can't focus. You're constantly bringing them back. It's, as a teacher, you are constantly pulling the child back into what you're doing. You're constantly having to make them focus. My autistic kids, I don't have problems with focus with them. Very rarely, unless they're like a double diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
To me, autism brains are easier to teach if you know how to talk to them than ADHD brains, because they're just all over the place, bouncing. You can feel that their brains are pinging wrong. It's just pinging
all inside their head.
Just like there's a ping pong ball in their heads. See, I can feel that they aren't processing correctly. Now, I mean, autism brains aren't either, but
it's a different type of.
It's still teachable. You have to go a lot slower, but it's a lot easier to sit with them and go slow than it is to pull that ADHD kid back in.
Mm-hmm. Well, when I was autistic, my brain wasn't often hyperactive unless I was eating crap, and then it would be. And I remember in my early 30s, having a lot more energy than I do now. Now, some people say, well, that's because you're getting older. Yeah, okay. I was just so hyperactive that
you were very hyper.
I was. I mean, I would run
Yeah.
to places at work. Not that I needed to do that.
I think you weren't as sick then.
I may not have been.
With viruses.
Well, exactly. And so I was quite hyper. That changed, I think, once I hit 40. I slowed down a lot physically, probably because of viruses.
Yeah, I think so.
And it was in 2009 when I first started getting dystonia, severe muscle cramps. So probably viruses.
Yes, it finally hit you.
Yeah, and but ADHD, for those who don't know, that's attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder. So those are the really hyper kids who have an attention problem. And Michelle has taught all of those brains, And so medical medium, like she said, he just talks about where metals are deposited in the brain makes a difference between ADD, ADHD, and autism. But they're all handled the same way. Heavy metal detox smoothie, more glucose.
Yes. Now let's talk about glucose in these brains in particular.
Well, Michelle and I, we started on the GAPS diet. Most of you know that, back 6 years ago. And so after about 3 years of being on the GAPS diet, she and I had not eaten in a few hours. So we were having severe hypoglycemia, not severe in the sense of unconsciousness, but feeling really bad and weak and tired.
That hangry thing.
Exactly. And but we didn't want to be talked to. We didn't want to talk to each other. We didn't want to be touched or hugged or anything. All of those symptoms are the same things that you get with autism. In fact, most often with autism. I imagine ADHD kids can be that way too. But after we experienced that hypoglycemia together, I told Michelle, said, you know what? This is exactly what it feels like to be autistic. Because most of the time, because you're always angry, you don't want to be talked to, you don't want to be touched, you don't want to be interacted with, and it's all because your brain isn't getting enough glucose. And we were on high-fat, high-protein diet then. And so then we get on Medical Medium. Medical Medium, in his book, The Medical Medium, has a chapter on autism and ADHD. In that chapter, he says, autistic and ADHD brains need more glucose than any other brains. He's right. And I know that from personal experience long before I heard of him. Because our brains are just starved for glucose. Most people's are, but...
He says the reason is because they can't use their brains normally because they're clogged.
Mm-hmm.
They have to use portions of their brain that aren't usually used for what they're using them for. And it requires more glucose to make those areas work.
Okay, all right, I can see that. And so while it may sound, for all you folks who are on different autism diets, while it may sound contradictory to what you've been told by doctors, listen to me. My brain was starved for glucose on that high-fat and high-protein diet. And here's something else Medical Medium says. When you eat fat and you eat glucose together, the glucose doesn't get to your brain because, first of all, number one, your liver is switching to process the fat, and two, it's backing up your intestinal tract and taking longer to be processed, all that fat. And so glucose isn't getting through to your brain. Now, that's what he says. My personal experience, and I've experimented with this a few times, he's right. Because I have eaten fat and then go, oh, well, I feel bad. Let me eat some more. Let me eat a bunch of fruit and see if I'll feel better. Well, I ate a bunch of fruit. I didn't feel better because my liver was not processing the glucose. It was processing the fat until it got done processing the fat. And I've done that 2, 3, maybe even 4 times. And I'm telling you, he's right. So you really move away from the fat, move towards a high fructose glucose diet, and you will see major gains in your kids. Forget backing up their livers with the high fat and high protein. Go straight to the fruit, and you'll change your life and theirs in much less time than GAPS ever did for me.
Well, and not just kids.
Mm-hmm. Adults too.
If I look backwards, I'm pretty sure I was ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
It was really hard for me to sit still. I couldn't focus in classes. If there was any noise, I was looking at the noise.
Well,
I couldn't take a test. I mean, I probably would have had an IEP now.
Well, probably.
I don't know how I got A's.
Well, your mom always said you were a tornado.
Yeah.
At least that's what you told me.
Yes.
So, coming through there, all kinds of energy.
And I was telling Mark, after I reread this chapter, that it's in the first book, Attention Deficit Disorder, ADD, and Autism. It's one chapter because it's all the same thing. It's heavy metals in the midline of the brain.
Mm-hmm. He even has a case study. What else are you going to say?
I was going to say, I wish I had known that I needed fruit back when I was a kid. If I had hypoglycemia as a teenager, sometimes in the morning I felt like I was going to pass out in the bathroom. I'm so sick from hypoglycemia.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wish I had known. But I didn't. But guess what? I know now, and I feel great. And I don't have trouble with attention very much anymore. I mean, I can focus really well.
Well, and she doesn't run the risk of passing out in the bathroom either.
Oh, no, I used to, but no, I don't know.
Well, and what she said a little while ago before we did the live was, I wish I would have known about fruit when I was in college. And I said, and I looked at her, I said, you made A's. And she goes, but it would have been better. I said, you made A's and you had Lyme disease and you were at your worst with it. And you still made A's.
But I would have felt better and I might have had more fun. And it might have been more easy because I was a music major and we went to school from 8 a.m. until 10 p.m.
Well, and I did tell her it would have been easier.
It would have been easier.
Because your body would have been getting the fuel that it needed.
I was sick.
What are you doing, man? So, really, and so here's what he says about ADHD, right? If the last piece of my autism puzzle was detoxing heavy metals, then I guarantee you the last and the major piece of ADD and ADHD is detoxing heavy metals from your brain. All right? I've talked with all kinds of people this week. They're running all kinds of tests on their loved ones and running all kinds of assays and trying to figure stuff out, with little fine details. Oh, we have the MTHFR mutation. You know what? I don't care. Just heal it for freak's sake. Just start eating fruit. Do the heavy metal detox smoothie. I had someone get on to me. Oh, the heavy metal detox smoothie isn't for kids. You know what? I know a 1-year-old who's on the heavy metal detox smoothie, and it's doing perfectly well for her.
And she was on it before she was 1.
There you go. You see what I mean? And somebody told me, oh, well, I've seen people have adverse reactions to the stuff in the heavy metal, some of the ingredients in this smoothie. I said, those are detox reactions. Adverse reaction could mean anything, but really what you're really saying is it makes you nervous and you don't like it. But when I know kids, medical medium mommy, I think her son was like 4 when she started. Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah. And so he was on that heavy metal detox smoothie and he was autistic. And in like a year's time, he was completely recovered.
It's pretty cool what this healing diet does.
Exactly. And one of the moms at work, she has her 4-year-old on the wild blueberries. And he's eating the wild blueberries like crazy.
Great.
She said he'll eat them for months. I said, just let him keep doing that. I said, if you can add a couple of leaves of cilantro, fine. But I said, the wild blueberry, the antioxidants in the wild blueberries are going to help him tremendously.
Yeah, it's a brain food.
Yeah. And so, and he's 4 years old. All these people tell me fruit isn't good for kids. What is the matter with you? You know nothing about diet. And I didn't either at one point.
You didn't either, Mark.
Well, that's what I just said. But now I do. So I can chide people, man. But especially when I get it from people who don't know jack squat about it. But medical medium, I'm finding him to be more and more right. And I'm finding, and every time he says science doesn't know about it, I go and find the science. So that means he's right. He just thinks he's the only one who's right.
Well, we think that maybe when he uses the word science, it's a metaphor for, is metaphor the word I'm looking for?
Yeah.
For the medical establishment?
The medical establishment who is closed-minded and disconnected from,
because Mark
purposefully disconnected from good research.
Because Mark keeps finding papers on the stuff he says.
And some of the stuff is more than 20 years old.
Yeah.
I found a paper last night from 1993 on using cilantro extract to detox from lead. Right? From 1993. right? This is before any of Medical Medium's books. Now, it's not before Medical Medium has been doing his stuff, but science knows about this stuff. It's just that he doesn't know that they know about it. So, but anyway, definitely the whole way to get over ADD and ADHD and autism is to detox from heavy metals. You know, and keep eating fruit. Eat as much fruit as possible.
Yeah.
Because that's what I tell the moms. And I ask them, one of the first questions is, they ask me, what can I do for my kid with autism? I'll say, well, first of all, do they eat fruit? Oh, he loves fruit. Then let him eat nothing but fruit. What about meat? Who cares about meat? Let him eat fruit. You know, if they want meat, eat dates. Dates. You know, I didn't like dates when we first started this diet. Now I eat them, especially when they're rolled in coconut. So I eat quite a bit of those. But and they help. So they keep me off the meat almost entirely. Not entirely, but mostly. So, but definitely let your kids eat fruit. We can repost the Fruit Fear podcast by Medical Medium if you want. But fruit really has all of the nutrients and stuff you need in it, almost all of them. I think he recommends when you're vegan, and I've heard this before, that you have to take B12 because that's about the only B vitamin you don't get.
But he wants you to have B12 anyway. That's one of the essential supplements.
That's what you said.
Yes, I know, but I mean, you're coming from the place of common knowledge in the world is that you need B12 for vegan diets. And he wants it for reasons beyond just that. It's to heal the nerves and all that.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just saying because you need B12 because it's about the only thing that you can't get from eating all the fruits and veggies. And you're saying that he has more reasons than just that.
Yes.
Well, yeah. So I get that. So definitely heavy metal detox smoothie all day. In fact, when we were doing the 28-day cleanse, which stretched to 35 for us, I was doing the heavy metal detox smoothie sometimes twice a day. And I'm talking about a whole blender cup like this twice a day. In fact, I even took them to work as lunch. That's how hardcore I did it. And that's why it worked so well. But then I was also I made cilantro pesto. Yeah. So I took a bunch of cilantro, put it in the blender, poured some water in there, cloves of garlic and some sea salt. And then I would toss potatoes in the cilantro pesto. Now that was good. Now that was overdosing on cilantro, but it worked, you know. And again, I'm finding I looked through about a dozen scientific papers last night, all on scientific research using cilantro to detox heavy metals. Aluminum was one, lead was another, mercury was another. And you know, I had someone tell me recently that when you're on ACC, you can't have cilantro. And I said, yes, I know. And I said, because cilantro interferes with the chelators in anti-Cutler chelation method. But the anti-Cutler chelation method, while it's scientifically backed, just like cilantro, because it was a scientist who developed it, it is complex. Don't get me wrong. You have to have 3 different chelators. Well, 2 different chelators and then ALA, which is alpha lipoic acid. And you have to dose those out every 3 to 4 hours, absolutely perfectionistically, religiously. You have to get up during the middle of the night to do it. And the heavy metal detox smoothie is something you can drink once a day. You can do this for 30 days and make major changes. And the anti-Cutler chelation method, I've seen people take years to make changes. So I don't know. Which would you want? An all-natural heavy metal detox smoothie or a bunch of chemicals? I'm going to go the all-natural route, and I hope you do too. So,
okay.
All right. Was that enough of a soapbox, or do we need to go on for another 36 minutes?
No.
No. All right.
So you can download the first book, Buried Alive, at
www.healyourautism.com.
You can, our new book, I got the first section finished today, and that is called?
That is called Heal Your Autism's Do-It-Yourself Guide. Healing begins in your kitchen.
So the first part is the detox part, how to start, and it's ready to go. And you do your heavy metal detox smoothie at your level.
And the celery juice and the lemon water to flush out all those toxins and dead viruses and bacteria.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Anything else? Nope. We'll see you tomorrow night. We're going to have an interview tomorrow night with an autistic man who is doing the medical medium stuff, the heavy metal detox smoothie and liver and the celery juice.
And the lemon water.
And the lemon water. He is already seeing changes after, what, 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And so we're excited to talk to him tomorrow night.
Yep. So you will see him. His name is Sean. So we'll see you tomorrow night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.